Hi, Mom. How are you?
Still terrific every day of my life.
So, Mom, on our first segment, you told us that in 1985 you were having balancing issues, and that's one of your first symptoms to how you thought you might have something. So, how did it go from that to a diagnosis?
Well, actually, it wasn't, I could still walk, everything was fine. I did have, the balancing issues did come back more frequent, and then I started stumbling and falling, and I realized this was really a more serious thing now. So I needed to go to the doctor, and I did go to 3 of them. Two of them looked at the same MRI and didn't really have an answer for me, and the third doctor said, according to the MRIs, you have multiple sclerosis and lesions on your brain. There's no cure, so go home, do anything you want to do, and don't tell your employer or your insurance company.
Wow.
I thought, okay. I didn't ask a lot of questions, and I just carried on. I thought, okay, now I've got a new start. I've got to think about what I need to do. So I did some research on it, and it's just a great big field. It's a medical field. You do need more medical advice just to carry on.
And at that point, there were a lot of things that we don't have today.
That's correct.
In terms of medications, so there wasn't a lot really known about it.
Right.
So when you told people, your family, your friends, did they not really know what that was? Or?
Well, they're just very shocked. It's just a big word, and you don't know what the future is going to be, because how is it going to affect you? It's everybody that does have it seems to get it differently in different years of their life.
I was 17 at the time, and I think my sister must have been 13 or 14. And it took you a little while to tell us. What was that like?
Well, actually, we had already planned a trip to the Caribbean, and we did go and have such a wonderful time. We just couldn't talk to you about it on that trip. So by the time we got home and we're going back into the routines, I had already told a lot of my friends that have children that would you'd be known to them as their classmates, and
Right.
and so I didn't want them to tell you about it before me. So it got later and later.
It did. I remember it was my senior year of high school, September. I was going to a basketball game. You actually drove me to it to drop me off. And right as I was getting out of the car, you basically just blurted it out. And I didn't know what that was. I had so many questions. And it just, in my, finite 17-year-old mind, I basically thought, you told me you were dying. And a lot of things went through my head. Will she be at my graduation? Will she be able to walk down the aisle at my wedding? Will she see her grandchildren? And it was really, I remember it was scary for me. I mean, it must have been horribly scary for you, but yeah.
Early on, I was given an MS cookbook, which I looked over, and I realized it took everything that I loved away. So I had absolutely nothing, and I thought, how can I go through this? And so Al and I went through the book, and he took away the chocolates and the dairy,
Alcohol.
and no salt or fat. I thought, wow, we won't have much of anything here, but we carried on, and it worked. And
Yeah, I can remember him always wanting to be a stickler with that, and you really wanting some of that stuff. So, but you did sometimes,
Yes.
right? It wasn't too all or nothing. But and then he also put you on like a workout regimen.
Right. Well, being a weightlifter himself, I had to lift weights, and so I had a bench press, and he made it so that I could just lift from the press, and I also had an exercycle that I could do.
Yeah, like your pedal machine.
Right.
Yeah. So it was like a stationary bike, but you're in your wheelchair
Right.
using it. I remember
So.
that. I remember you would always be so proud of, I did 30 cycles. Is that what you
And then when my feet would fall off, he would say, wow. And so he built little wooden shoes around the pedal so your feet wouldn't fall off.
Like little clamps
Yeah.
for your shoes to go in so that
So.
you could pedal. So he strengthened your legs for the walking, and then he also was strengthening your arms too. So because you were using a cane and a walker, and eventually would go into a wheelchair. So you had that. That was probably really helpful.
It was. Honey, you know I'm terrific every single day of my life.